What if you could join a network of business leaders who share your Christian values, who reject the separation of faith and business, and who have a fierce vision for success? Welcome to Business Makers Network, a network that strives to create community, build intellectual wealth and practical business knowledge, and grow thriving businesses for the kingdom. We're not just another business network. We are a community of unapologetic Christian leaders who understand that success in business blesses our customers, blesses our families and employees, and in the end drives greater profits. All of Christ for all our business efforts as we aim to take the talents God has given us and turn them into 30, 60, and 100-fold. With a combined net worth already exceeding $1 billion in committed memberships, our members are reshaping the business landscape while staying true to our Christian values and taking dominion in the lanes God has paid for us. As a member, you'll gain exclusive access to our Business Makers Network app, discounts to live workshop events, network calls with key influencers, access to like-minded Christian business leaders, a pool of hands-on intellectual wealth and practical business knowledge, mentorship and menteeship programs. We will be rolling those out over the coming year. Read-only access for the tier above you for educational purposes. Invitations to our annual corporate partner dinner. Networking events at the Fight Laugh Feast conference. We offer membership tiers designed to match your business journey. From our exclusive double diamond level for industry titans, to our green membership for promising startups, to our MVP tier that is looking for a community of Christian, like-minded business leaders. There's a place for every serious business leader in our community. Your network is your net worth. Join Business Makers today and become a part of a movement that is changing the face of Christian business leadership. Visit our website now to secure your membership and step into a community where faith, business, and success align.
A master called together a few young men of this generation and spoke to them, saying, "I gave your great-grandfathers a time of despair and poverty and global war. They were strong and victorious and built an empire greater than any other. But they were terrible fathers and raised entitled sons and daughters of rot who inherited everything through no courage of their own. To those rotten sons, your own grandfathers, I gave abundance and wealth and stability. But they pissed it all away on debauchery and sexual revolution, establishing many idols and slaughtering tens of millions of children in sacrifice to their appetites. One generation fought against the perpetrators of a great Holocaust. The next dishonored that victory with an even greater Holocaust of their own children. The children who did survive, your fathers, carried on the sexual descent of their parents into new madness and new disease, piercing and inking their skin like death-worshipping pagans as they did, establishing special days of pride to celebrate the debauch, slaughtering more children and castrating and poisoning others, claiming to be creators when they were destroyers, mutilating the young and calling it acceptance. All these generations I have judged, and am judging. Their madness now is only a taste of my wrath." The young men were afraid and asked the master why he had called them and why he was telling them these things. "Because it is now your turn. I am giving all of this chaos to you," he said. "Your inheritance is a world of crumbling false gods crowded with blind and mad worshippers. I am entrusting you with a world of empires built on cracked and heaving foundations. The time of your inheritance is near. You have only a little while to prepare yourselves. Seize this moment of chaos and build me a world of sanity and righteousness. When I return, I will judge what you have built for me. With so much rubble to work with, I expect great things." The master turned to leave, but the young men begged him to wait. "How can we do this?" they asked. "There are hundreds of millions of unbelievers in our nation alone and only a few of us." Their master answered, saying, "I am not a hard master. You will have the truth and wisdom if you desire it. And you may each choose one woman to help you. That should be enough. Go now and build New St. Andrews College. Carpe Chaos."
Hey y'all, welcome to Water Break. It's good to be with you. I have literally been gone for 7 days. I was in
1 week.
Texas, Oklahoma, back to Texas. And then now I just literally flew in and right into water break.
Here we are.
First time to see my wife in 7 days, and we're doing a live show. This is how dedicated we are.
So much we love you guys.
Yes. So it's good to be with you. If you guys want to be in touch with us, email us questions at RenchMedia@gmail.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter, Annie on Instagram. Basically, Annie Wrench or Gabe Wrench. You Google that on Twitter or Instagram. You'll find us. It's not difficult. We have some great shows coming up. Hopefully, some fun news we'll be announcing here in the next couple months if we can all come together. We have some interviews coming up in March, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
And today, before we get into the topics, any more announcements or anything?
No, I don't think so. We're actually answering a listener question today.
Oh, okay. This is not a aha.
It's not an ama.
Ama.
It is, but only one.
One. Okay.
Answering one question.
So today we're actually that's right. We're getting into a listener question, and it's probably going to take the whole show to answer because our time management's not very good here on the show. The question. I don't even know. Did you have the question written down here?
Yeah, I have it written down right here.
Okay. Well, why don't you, since I don't see the question very well, why don't you...
He honestly doesn't know what's going on at all.
Read the question. I just got in. I'm trying to pretend that I'm in full, I know everything mode.
I know what we're talking about today.
We're going to talk about time management.
He doesn't know. Yeah.
Time management.
Yeah, so I had a great listener write email in a while ago, and I apologize for how long it's taken us to get to this one. And I know there's others of you who we have not got to either, but we have a list, okay? We'll get to them. She just said, hey, could you do a show basically about time management as a wife? So specifically, how do I fit in wife duties, mom duties, work duties, exercise, etc. as a wife/mom? And that's a pretty good question. It's a broad one, but it's an issue for a lot of people. So I decided.
I got a lot of thoughts on this now that you're talking.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, good. We can go through it. You can give me all your thoughts. But yeah, so we thought we would kind of just go through this. For the show. That sound good? You ready to dive in?
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, while time management...
So what was the question she wrote?
She literally said, can you do a show about time management?
That's what it was. That's what.
Yeah, that's like what I just said.
She could have written a better question, though.
She wrote it fine. Oh my gosh. You just cruise in here.
And just start poking.
Start having problems.
Picking parts away. Picking things apart. Let's go.
Okay, so first of all, I do find that time management, especially as it regards to health and getting exercise in, eating healthy, food prep, whatever it is a challenge for a lot of women. Like a lot of women are like, well, I want to, I just can't get organized, I can't make it happen, I can't fit it in, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it is an issue for a lot of people. But I'll say, if you are killing it on the time management side of things, and some women just are, some women are just gifted with that, like they're high energy, they're efficient, they're structured, they're just organized, and they just don't need this. You can just go to the next show in your queue, and that's it's perfectly fine, because I'm literally going to I'm going to assume that you're having problems, and that's kind of who I'm talking to. But I think it's worth it because it's a good question, and I think a lot of people do struggle with this, and we could all, myself included, probably improve in some way. So that said, I think answering this question can be a little bit hard because there's lots of different kinds of moms with different kinds of issues struggling with time management. It doesn't all look the same. And I would say the top 3 different kinds of moms that I see normally struggling with something like this are, number one, the mega overdoers. And I'm sure some of you can identify with that, or you know that person, like that mom who's got 10 kids and we don't know where her energy is coming from. We think maybe she's on cocaine. We're not sure. And she just goes and goes and goes and does and does and does and is just doing so much, right? And that's a little bit of an extreme example, but I think that mom she's not lazy, and it's not that she's maybe, not. The issue is not getting things done. It's that she's trying to do too much. She wants to do everything, and and it's just too much. So there's those people, and so she's got a time management and an energy management issue in her own way. And then there's those women who are getting things done, but they're prioritizing all the wrong things.
Right.
Does that make sense? So it's not like they're not doing anything, but it's just so much of their time and energy in their day or in their week is devoted to just wrong stuff. So I don't know, this mom who's just throwing herself into Sunday school or Bible studies, or she's obsessed with cleaning her floors and spends hours a day cleaning her floors, or she just is constantly shopping, or just things that are not necessarily bad things, but because she's putting so much time into that and so much energy into that, she's missing things. And so like maybe she's overweight because she's not taking care of her body, and maybe her energy's super low, and her family's eating out all the time because she doesn't have the time, or she hasn't prioritized the time to actually like make real food. Maybe her husband's really sad because of all these things, so there's those women who are, it's not like you're not doing anything, you're busy, but you're not necessarily prioritizing the right things. And then there are women out there who, and it can be for a myriad of reasons, who are not getting enough things done. They're just not being very productive. And I mean, it could be a laziness issue. I will say, I don't see that many lazy moms. I just don't see that as being the biggest problem. I often see other problems, kind of being, I don't know, the biggest issue, but you could be being lazy. I mean, it's very possible that it does happen. You could just be really disorganized. You could be very easily distracted. You could be super low energy, and we can talk about that. That's a big problem. You could be just paralyzed by the overwhelm of all the things that you need to do, and therefore you're almost doing nothing. But, so there's those of you who are just not getting almost anything done, and you need to. So I'm going to kind of talk about kind of overarching principles that I think, or at least one big thing that I think all of you should be doing, no matter which category you fall under. And then we can just kind of bullet point out just some more practical tips that will apply to, at least some of you, depending on which category you fall in. Okay. So anything you want to add at this point?
Yeah. I'm just thinking kind of like, maybe even like zooming farther out, just thinking kind of, we want to strive to raise families that love each other and that aren't, walking past each other every day, every night. So this is kind of part of that conversation. The other thing is like, whenever you're, I think it's good to review, me and Annie
like
joke
yourself.
about, review yourself and what you're doing, and kind of check in with your husband, check in with your wife. How am I doing? Am I too busy? Have those open conversations. What could I be doing better? That kind of stuff. But I think the big thing when you're thinking about your work life and thinking about raising kids, thinking about your home life as a homemaker, and you want to be grace driven and not guilt driven. This is particularly a place I think for women can get caught up and just kind of be real guilt driven. Like, I need to make sure my kids got a muffin snack at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. when I pick them up from school. Or I need to,
like mom guilt, classic mom guilt.
But it can come out in various ways, kind of in this busy life. Now, also at the same time, I mean, God does call you to work hard. He does call women to be very industrious. I mean, the Proverbs 31 woman was, at sometimes, reading through that chapter myself, I get exhausted reading through it.
I know, it's a lot.
It's a lot. And so, but also don't, it's this camera, right, Carter? That's that one.
Always that one.
Yeah. And of course, you don't want to be comparing yourselves to other women either in all this.
That's a big issue too.
The best thing for you to do is check in with your husband, because he's probably the most objective in this with you. He might see your busyness in a way you don't see it, or he might see maybe you are putting an added guilty burden on yourself that you shouldn't be doing. It's like, hey, don't be comparing yourselves to other women. They make sourdough and you don't. Who cares? It's like, so, really think about your strengths and who you are in this world and what God has given you, and let the grace of that drive you to do all the things that you want to do. And then, of course, time management is kind of the process of executing that well.
Yeah, right. So, right. That's really good. That's like your paradigm that you need, or the glasses that you need to be looking through as you actually decide, what does my life need to look like? Because everybody's different, and we'll kind of talk about that, but it's not like there's one.
Well, some people got houses, some people got apartments.
Yeah. That's why it's so hard, I think, is that there's no like pamphlet, like this is what your life should look like. This is what your priorities should look like. It's different for everybody. So I think
and then you add the internet into this and gives you all sorts of false senses of people being accomplished people.
I mean, seriously, getting off social media really, actually, I think I put that in here somewhere.
Well, that's a great place. Off. Like, don't look at Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever and start getting guilty because, look at this person making sourdough and or look at this mom doing this, whatever. It's like, likely that is not true that she's as productive as she's coming off on Twitter.
Or she's really good at sourdough, but dropping the ball somewhere else. Most of us are, that's very true. Especially
if anything, take it as like an encouragement, or take it as a, hey, that's a neat way of doing it, and then move on,
Or delete Instagram from your phone, which is another viable option.
That's right.
Okay,
that's right.
That's good. Okay, so that's great. So I said I was going to give one kind of big overarching suggestion or principle or place to start. And this, I think should apply to any woman who's like one way or another. You're an overdoer. You're just doing the wrong stuff. You're paralyzed. You're doing nothing. Any of you. I think this is a good place to start. It's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not like an expert on this.
No.
But I've done it myself. I have had lots of different women I've worked with do it, and it has seemed to be a good starting point. Okay, so I'm going to start with that, and then we can talk about all the other things. So really,
I'm curious, like a cat.
yeah, what I think we all need to do if we're just like, we are missing the mark somehow, or maybe you're like, I think I'm doing great, and your husband's like, it's not great. Even then, maybe you should try doing this, and I encourage it. Is basically you need to sit down and you need to triage your whole life. And we talked about this
Your
before.
whole life.
Well, I mean, your whole life in terms of daily, all the things that you're
What's
doing.
happening this week?
Yeah,
what's
like
happening
everything
this
that
day?
as a wife and a mom you do.
Yeah.
And that's true in a day. And that's also true in a week.
Yeah.
So I would say look at it as a week because there's going to be things, and you women know this, like you don't go to the store every day, but you have to fit it in.
Some probably
some
do.
days. I mean, every other for
It's
me.
usually an accident. Yeah.
Every other
yeah.
for me, but like there's certain things that might not be daily, but they are going to add up because they're somewhere
Yeah.
in your week. So I normally suggest look at a week at a time. You could even go to a month, but that can be really overwhelming for a lot of personalities. So I like to say, look at an average week in the life of you, and make a list. And I really sit down and like take your time on this. This is very, very important, and it's very helpful, but you have to be accurate. You can't forget stuff. You can't be like, whoops, I forgot laundry and I forgot grocery shopping and I forgot, you have to triage everything that you're currently doing on a regular basis.
And
that would take up time in your day or your week.
And here's usually why that doesn't happen is because you're so busy you don't think you can sit down and do that.
Yes.
And what's funny is if you sit down and do that, it actually cleans up your week so you aren't as busy or as crazy as you.
So helpful.
Yeah.
Do it with your husband if you feel like that would be helpful, or it would just be like it'll be accountability, or he'd have great input, or it'll be like, oh, you're forgetting this. You do this every Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever.
Or he needs to know about something.
Totally. Well, he needs
your
he needs to
kid's
know about
birthday this week.
He needs to, so many things. But like, or hire a babysitter and go to a coffee shop and do it. But like, get in a place where you can really be accurate, or else this won't work. Just like anything, it won't work if you're not being accurate. But literally triage your life. So I just mean like, get a piece of paper or get on your computer, whatever, and make a list of all the things that you're currently doing on a regular basis on a given day or in a given week. Okay. And I mean everything. And then this is the important part. You need to start organizing them from most non-negotiable to very negotiable. And you gotta move some things around here. And that's where some husband input could be really helpful, because this is where a lot of things go wrong. Or we might tell ourselves, yes, making dinner for my family is very important to me, but in reality, it's like way down here on the pretty negotiable list. So this is step one, and I just can't reiterate enough how helpful it can be to you if you take the time, you are thoughtful, and you are accurate. And all I'm asking you to just make a list and to not leave anything out. Okay. Now, everybody's list is going to look a little different. Okay. Like, I mean, what's the most important, that first like 5 to 7 things, which is what we're going to deal with here at the beginning. There's going to be some wiggle room as to what's making the cut. I mean, are you homeschooling your kids? Like, if you're homeschooling your kids, a lot of time is going to have to be devoted to that. Whereas like me, I drop my kids off at 8:30 and then I pick them up at 3:30. That's just not the same, right? I mean, do you do the laundry, or do you pay your oldest daughter to take care of laundry? That's, is that something you have to do or not? Like, are you a mom of 2 kids versus 10 kids? That's gonna that's gonna factor in. So not, or are your kids, babies? Yeah. Are they high schoolers?
4, 2, and 1.
Or are they out of the house? Or you're an empty nester? So everybody's list is going to look a little different. I just need you to figure out what are your biggest non-negotiable. What's the top tier of that list? And then everything else can fall in whatever seems like good order underneath that. Okay. Now, I will say this, and this is my opinion, but this is one of the things that I feel very strongly about. I can't tell you everything that needs to be in that top, like triage, first priority section of your list, but I will say that there are 4 things that I think must be up there. And for a lot of us right now, they're not. And that shows in the way that our time management plays out. Number 1 is scheduled or planned time with your husband and your kids, if you've got kids. So I'm talking like family dinners, however that might play out. Honestly, I think a date night, I mean, I in some capacity, like actually scheduled, prioritized time with your spouse. And that can look different. It can be going on a walk. It can be going out to dinner. It can be going out whatever. But like, I think that needs to be intentional. And I would say weekly, if
as
you
best
can.
you can.
Yeah, and I know
we do Sunday nights.
We do, and
that's because school, kids need help with homework, whatever during the week.
And I think we could even be better.
Nice.
And obviously, like, if someone's out of town for a week, not going to happen. Fine, like exceptions can be made, but I think that needs to make it up there, because if you're not killing it with your spouse and your children, like, what are you even doing?
Yeah,
like what even like nothing else matters. Like, what are you even doing? So that's number.
Our friends our friends in Texas who they reserve.
Not naming them.
Yeah, we're not naming them. They reserve Monday morning.
Oh yeah, you told me about this.
It's really cool. And,
I love that.
And they just kind of go on a walk and hang out, and then about lunchtime they kind of go to work. So they have a little different kind of schedule where they can do that.
It works
on
for
Monday
them.
morning. It works for them.
I think that's super sweet.
That's pretty hard for us right now, but I thought that was kind of fun.
It's kind of what we do Sunday, and it's nice because it's like the beginning of the week, so you can kind of like. You're connecting. You're having special
talking.
time.
We can talk about what's happening this week.
And I can fill you in on what's happening this week. And I think the more busy you are, the more you have to put this at the top of that list.
You have to figure out how to prioritize.
You have to put it there. No, that's
gotta fight for it.
That's true. Okay, the second thing that needs to make the list is for you as a mom. You need designated time to meal plan and meal prep and make meals for your family. If that is not way high up there, top 5 to 7, you're doing it wrong. Okay. And if you're wondering why you are struggling so much to put food on the table, like healthy meals for your family on the table, it's because
you aren't planning.
It's not there.
Yeah,
it's not there at the top of the list. Okay. So that's another one that I think needs to be non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Third one is regular exercise in some capacity for you. Okay. And again, you don't have to agree, but you want to feel good. You want to kill it at life. You want to live long. You want to see your grandkids. It has to be.
You want to be able to pick up your grandkids
at the top of that list. And if it's not, most of you won't do it. Okay, so that needs to be there. And then number 4, and this is another one, especially as you get older, you need to see, on that list needs to be guarding somehow a good solid 8 hours of sleep. And once again, that's pretty difficult, especially for a young mom. Of course. I mean, that's an exception. That's an exception. But as soon as your kids are old enough.
It's not an exception. It's a lot of.
It's a chunk of time. But as soon as your kids are old enough to where they can sleep through the night, you need to like intentionally schedule in one way or another 8 hours of sleep. So I'm not saying that. I mean, there's other things that are going to need to be in that top like 5 to 7 things, depending on you and depending on your season of life and all those things. But those 4, in my opinion, have to be there.
I'm pushing on the sleep thing. Why is the sleep thing so helpful? 8 hours. I thought at one point you were saying like women even need more than men.
They do. I'm saying 8 is a bare minimum.
Yeah, and so what?
Because 10 is unrealistic.
What health wise, if you aren't kind of getting,
it's easier to say what not health wise will happen if you don't chronically over time get sleep. Okay. Everything. Yeah. Energy, mood, ability to lose weight, blood sugar control. I mean, everything.
So sleeping could potentially help the ability to lose weight. Like
not
sleeping
potentially, like 100% help your ability to lose weight. Yeah. Managing blood sugar, leptin management. It affects everything. Cognitive, like your just ability to think straight. Yeah. Sleeping is such a big deal. And you're right that actually what's recommended, out of I think it's Stanford, I can't remember, is like 9 to 10 for women. I'm bringing
8 to 9 for men.
Yeah, 7 to 8, a little less for men. Just on average, men can get by and do well with a little bit less, which I've seen that to be true in real life. And again, there's exceptions in both camps, but I just find when I say get 10, women are like,
never. Yeah.
What world do you think I'm living in?
Because you're talking like 10 a.m. to 8 a.m., 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. or something like that. That just sounds.
I do like, anytime I get a chance. And it's cumulative. Sleep is cumulative, so it's not like you have to be on point every single night.
I catch up on breaks.
Yeah.
When we go on vacations.
Yeah, you have terrible. Actually, it's terrible, and you do, but you survive, and then
I pass out for a week.
Like 24 hours straight when we go on vacation.
It's so nice.
Yeah, but no, I know this is a little shocking, but those 4 things I would actually say have to make the top. Okay, they have to make the top if you want to actually do well in life.
Okay, review that one more time. Just summarize it for me.
Okay,
what is it? 1,
scheduled plan time with your husband and your kids. Whatever that may look like.
Dinners, whatever.
Family dinners, whatever.
Sabbath dinner.
It depends on phase of life with your kids.
Number 2.
Some sort of date night, special time with your spouse. Number 2, meal planning and food prep time. And those are 2 separate things. You meal plan at the beginning of each week or at some point during the week. And that's when you plan out your meals. You look at the week, which nights can I cook, which nights would be better if I didn't cook. Then you shop then you actually do the food prep. So you need both of those. Okay.
And number 3,
regular exercise in some capacity. Completely understand, depending on the season of life you're in, it might not be an hour in the gym every day, but you need to be moving your body in some way.
Yeah. Okay. Number 4,
it needs to be scheduled in. It's
Sleep.
Yeah. And then whatever else makes that list of like top 5 to 7.
And of course, we aren't like telling you not to plan Bible reading time and all the other stuff that's going on.
You can put read your Bible on there. Yes, you can. Or like me, you can put listen to your Bible while you do other things. Yeah. Okay. And I will say, I will put a little note here. The younger your kids are, generally speaking, the shorter of a list of tasks you're going to be able to have. So get those, right? And then you're just not going to be able to add much more onto it.
So what you're saying there.
And stop trying. Because it's not going to happen.
Don't try to do all this stuff because it's not going to happen. Because little kids can be unpredictable or can just be needy or can't, you throw up or feeding or whatever.
It's just a time consuming.
It's a very time consuming thing. And so don't, I guess, also raise your expectations in such a way where it's like, I didn't get anything done today. And it's like, no, you did the main thing, which was taking care of your kid.
But you just can't have a list of 10 other things because you'll just constantly in a state of disappointment. I remember my sister, I don't know why this popped into my head, but I have a sister who she doesn't live here. She'll come to visit. She has tons of friends here. She's super friendship oriented, maintains friendships in an unbelievable way. And so before she had kids, would come and she would just have her day just like booked, like early morning walk with this friend, lunch with this friend, afternoon coffee with this friend, dinner with these friends. And she would do it and just soak it up and love it, and it was great. And by the end of the day, it was just like, this was the best day. And then she had kids, like she has 2 younger kids. And
she tried to do it,
I think she tried one summer with one baby, maybe, I can't remember, maybe just one baby, which just drastically changes things. You know what I mean? And she tried to kind of book kind of tight and she was just like, oh, I can't do that anymore.
No.
I can do like 1 or 2 things.
Yeah, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon or whatever.
Day. And then besides that, you're dealing with a fussy baby. You have nap times. You have you just can't do as much, and she was, and it was just really, it was very wise of her to just notice, like, I have to drastically manage my expectations of the kinds of how many friends I can get to in a week when I come back home. Trip, so you just, that's a good little side note. Okay. So you've got your list. Okay. And it's not to say you can't add to the list later, but I really recommend starting with like your top 5 to 7. Okay. Absolutely non-negotiable mom tasks that you must get done and that have to get done in a given day or throughout a given week, okay? And the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take that list, and it's a fairly short list, and I'm gonna have you start laying that down over a daily or weekly schedule. And I mean, it helps me to get an actual paper. Gabe always makes fun of me, but like an old lady.
My wife does not use a digital calendar. It's so sad for me.
Even if you do use a digital calendar for this, especially if you got to really make some changes, you might still benefit from like a whiteboard or a big paper thing, just something that's big so that you can write everything out. You can see it all. There's just something visually about that I find very helpful. You don't have to, but I think it's helpful. Okay. But you're going to take that list of tasks and you're going to lay it down over a schedule. And it's not just that you need to be like laundry here, exercise here. You need to be specific about timeframes and times of day. And this is really, really important because if you write down gym time at 7 p.m., are you actually going to go to the gym at 7? Are you? I mean, you know how many women do this? They tell themselves that they're going to work out at a certain time of day, and it's like this like so unrealistic. They're never going to do it. They've never been able to do it. So you need to be realistic about that. Like, are you really a 5 a.m. CrossFit person? Like, do you dread it? Are you de-energized the rest of the day? Is it just you hate it? Then maybe don't do that anymore. Like, change. Okay. Try something in the afternoon, get a babysitter, whatever it takes. Like, does it really only take you 30 minutes to meal plan for the entire week? And that's what you're giving yourself. It takes more than that. You need more than 30 minutes. Longer. So all I'm saying is when you're laying down that top priority list of things onto your weekly schedule, be very accurate and be realistic about when in a day or in a week it's supposedly going to happen and how long it takes. Okay. And look what I wrote right here. Get your husband on board with your new schedule. Get his thoughts. Have him check in and keep you accountable.
Have him maybe fit him in to cook steaks sometime.
Yeah, put him in the schedule. But I mean, this is really important. I don't mean this like you're this pathetic child and you need like oversight and you can't make any decisions on your own. I don't mean it that way, you guys. But like, this is a challenge for women, and women have normally we have a lot going on, and we just we have a hard time making change. We're gifted at multitasking, but that can actually cause problems sometimes. And we're trying to do too much at once. Yeah. And it's just nice to have a second set of eyes who truly cares about you, who lives in it, right? Like they're just right there seeing all of these things go down. I really would just be like, hey, honey, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? Do you think this seems realistic? I was supposed to kind of triage, like put my most important things here. What do you think about this? Yeah. Are there any changes that you would make? I'm trying to start very bare bones. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to see if I can at least get this stuff done.
Yeah.
And then down the road, after you've tried it for like a week or two, even I would say, then you can add or take away depending on how it's going.
Yeah. Well, you just think, God just actually gave a real complementary kind of relationship here in the sense that women are good at details and men are good at looking at the big picture. And so when you're sitting there,
I didn't think about that. But that's
when you're sitting there working out all the details, pull your husband in, and he's pretty good at looking at the big picture and thinking about things that you might not be thinking about. And of course, he's horrible generally of thinking about all the details.
Really bad.
Yeah,
really bad.
So.
But that's okay. No, get his and you just secondly, you just need him on board. Like you this is going to be hard enough. Big changes are hard. And if your husband's just over here and he has no idea what you're trying to do or why you're trying to do it and what's going on, that's just not going to be helpful. So, and then husbands be really encouraging about this because this is tough.
Yeah.
Especially if you're dealing with a situation where you've been paralyzed and you haven't been doing anything well and you're having to go to doing what's going to feel like quite a bit of productivity, that's going to be hard for her. And then conversely, and I think I see this even more often, if she's having to just do a lot less, say no to things, cut things out because it just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Or if she does fit it in, it's at the expense of these things at the top of the list that are non-negotiables.
The expense of his husband wanting to hang out with you later.
Well, that's why it's number 2 on the list.
Right.
You see what I mean? That's why I put it there. Yeah. So that's also really hard. Maybe even harder. Is to say no.
Yeah.
Women are. I mean, we are just. I don't know what's wrong with us, but like
You're yes monkeys.
Well, yes. We don't want to disappoint people. We're always like, I can just do one more thing. I can just fit it in. And it's just like normally not really. Like usually you can't. So just be involved, and that's going to be really helpful. And then I'm just going to say one more thing about this, and then we can just go into some random, just helpful, practical things. But again, I'm not talking to you if you're killing it at life. You don't even need to be listening to this. But I assume at this point, if you're listening, you are like, I need to change. Something needs to get better with my time management. I'm struggling in some way. So this sort of make that triage list, take that top tier priority, non-negotiable stuff, and then just start with that, try it out. It's going to feel to a lot of you rigid and like overscheduled and just kind of not very fun.
Yeah.
And a lot of the types of personalities who, not all the time, but a lot of the types of personalities who struggle with time management to begin with are people who do not like structure. They're like, I don't want that. It feels unauthentic and I don't suffocating and like I don't like being told what to do and I just kind of want to see how the day goes. Like I just kind of want to. They're just kind of that kind of personality, which is not a bad personality, but if that's you and dinner's not getting made or your family is neglected in some way or your husband's like, well, do you even love me? Then you got to make changes. You got to make changes. So this is all I want to say to you guys is that I would say be rigid and kind of scheduled like I've just been suggesting for a season. Okay. You don't have to do this forever, just for a season in order to help you break bad habits. Okay. And then establish better and more correct life priorities and rhythms, okay? And it's different for everybody, but do it just for a time till you form new habits, basically, okay? And this is very similar, I think, to tracking your nutrition. I don't really know anybody who loves tracking. Well, there's a few people, but usually they have their own set of problems. Okay. But most people don't enjoy it. It's meticulous, it's time consuming, it's annoying, it feels kind of petty and stupid, and it's just kind of like, I don't want to do this. I just want to eat, But and I agree with that. And I don't think anyone should need to do that their entire life. But for a season, it's super helpful. And for a lot of people whose nutrition is grossly off, it's what they need in order to have the accountability, to have motivation, to get more educated on what it is that they're actually putting in their body, how much they're actually putting in their body. So I'd say it's very similar to that. It's a tool that you may need to pull out of your toolbox for a chunk of time to get yourself to the point where better habits are made, new rhythms are established, and then you can take those training wheels off and you can be little less. There's things that I used to write down in my old lady grandma planner that I still use. There used to be things that I would write down all the time, like school pickup, 3:30, and that I don't write down anymore. I just remember.
Yeah,
it's just part of my life. I don't need to write it down anymore. There's some things that I still write down.
Yeah.
Anything that's newer, honestly, like if we get raw milk once a week. This is just an example. If that pickup day gets moved, I write it down.
Yeah, right,
Because it's new. I'm not going to remember, or I'll go on the wrong day. You know what I mean? And like every year, my kids' practices change, and so I'll write those down. But stuff that's been a rhythm for a while, I don't write down. I just know. You know, I just remember, and that will happen for you also. But you're going to need to be strangely scheduled and structured at the start in order to make these changes. So that's all I got for that kind of more overarching triage your life kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Then after this, I've just got kind of some random, you know, more practical things. Is there anything else you want to add now?
Nope, not now.
Okay. So some of these will apply to more of you than to others. I'll just kind of rapid fire them off. One thought is, and this is meant as an encouragement to some of you, especially you ladies who are the overdoers, like the ones who are just trying to do too much.
Too much, yeah.
Or it could be those of you who are doing, you know, maybe about the right amount, but it's just the wrong stuff. Sometimes you need to cut something out of your life or say no to something. Like, I don't know, maybe right now is just not the time for marathon training. It's too time consuming. You can't. Okay. Or maybe this is not the time for you to be volunteering at your school. Is volunteering at your kid's school a great thing? Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a great thing, but it's just maybe now is not the time.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the time to be having as many girls' nights. Maybe this isn't the time for you to have a job outside the house. You know, like everything needs to be on the table, right? And that's why we make that list, right? But just note that just because it's not the time now doesn't necessarily mean that you can't ever do it. Like really look, it's, and maybe it does. Maybe there's just some things that God just doesn't want you to do.
Yeah.
And that's fine too. We need to be okay with that too. But I think there's a lot of things where there's just a season to it. Like there's a season, you know, I'm doing things now that I could not in good conscience do when I had little kids who were at home with me, you know, and it's honestly, that time flies, you know? So I just, be encouraged and remember that just because right now something needs to go, which it very well might, that doesn't necessarily mean you can't pick that back up later in some way. So I just, you know, I think that's helpful. I have to say that same kind of little thing to people when I have them go low carb for a while.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it's going to be like this forever.
We'll get you there.
It doesn't have to be forever. And actually that really helps. Like just being like, okay, this is a, you know, it's a seasonal thing.
Well, this really becomes obvious too. It depends on what your stage in life your kids are at. You know,
well, it should be obvious, but I think when women are thinking, and I've been there, when you've been like, when our kids are younger and you're like, I really think you need to work less. It just feels like too much. I think you need to work less. And I was just like, no, you know, I don't know why I couldn't step outside of my stupid self and be like, Annie, you can do more of this stuff later if you want to. It's like a very short season when you have little kids with you.
Right.
But it's just, I don't know, you can get really stuck on something. At least I can. And get almost just like, I don't want to say irrational. Well, maybe it is kind of irrational, but just like sort of tunnel vision, like you have blinders on and all you care about is like, I just care. I can't let this go. I love it. I love this. And it's just like, let it go. Like you can do more later. It's not, it's not like never. Yeah. It doesn't have to be never.
Well, for me, it's like, I'm only going to be coaching basketball the next, 5 years and I'm done or something. This is my kids are
right. Why would
in that phase,
Totally. So, that's true. That we need to remind ourselves of that because it's pretty intense, but it's not going to be forever. And I'm sure in some ways we'll miss it, Well, I don't know. Probably, maybe. Okay. Next point. This is an interesting one, but I'm going to say it. I'll caveat it. If you really care about something, you'll do it. And that sounds like what one of those like old mean football coaches would say, like, I don't know. It just sounds kind of like not very understanding, but it is also true. And it's true for me. It's true for you. It's true for everybody. And I think of it in terms of your own life. There's certain things, and it's different for everybody. It really is. There's certain things that you, no matter what's going on, how busy you are, what your work hours are, like it doesn't matter. If your kid's sick or not, you'll do. You just will. I couldn't tell you why. Maybe you could tell yourself why.
What do you have in mind here?
I mean, it could be as basic as like you'll eat lunch or you'll brush your teeth or here's a good one for me. Here's a good example about me that you can understand. Okay. So, and I want to show you the difference between in my life. And again, this isn't necessarily true for everybody, but it's a good example for me. Certain things that I just absolutely will do, barring me being on a deathbed or something, versus something that it's like, I mean, I care about, but not really. Yeah. Okay. So, making dinner for my family. That's something that you can pretty much 100% count on me doing. Like it's obviously very important to me. It's a huge priority. I put a ton of time and effort into shopping regularly, meal planning. And I mean, sometimes it's like I make dinner and then we re-eat it, but there's always a plan and there's always dinner, like almost always. We barely ever eat out. So would you agree with that? That's something that's really obviously high on my list. everyone can tell. Now, let me ask you this, Gabe. What do you think about the big pile of laundry that's sitting on our bed right now?
Well, since I've been home in 7 days, I don't know what's there.
What do you think? Do you think there's a pile there?
But I likely the odds are really strong.
Yeah.
The odds
So
are really
I'm
strong.
just using this as
But
an
you're
example.
also single mothering it for the last 7 days.
Oh, but
so.
even if you were here for the last week, do you think there's a pile of laundry on our bed?
Sure.
100%. There's a pile of laundry on our bed. And guys, again,
Yeah.
I'm just using myself as an example. Some women are like on it with the laundry.
Yeah,
like that's, I don't know why, but that's like really high in their list. And maybe they're dropping a ball somewhere else. Or
I want
want
to invent a laundry machine that it washes it, and then
Like,
the
sorts
washer's at top, and then when it's done, it empties out the water, and the clothes drop into the dryer, patch closes, and then it dries. And then when it dries, it kicks it out, and it recognizes a shirt, and it folds it, and it recognizes socks. And
Okay,
it folds
listen,
it.
I'm only interested in that if it goes.
Carter's already thinking about that.
I
right
want
now.
it to
He's
go
like,
into
that's a great idea.
It needs to get sorted into the right person's basket, or else I don't want.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
Okay, that's why I hate it. I hate folding laundry.
Now there might even need a barcode system
Figuring out-
that the computer reads or something.
what
But
belongs to everybody.
we can make that work.
Okay, well, here's my point. And
I've thought this farther down the road.
yeah,
than most
you
people
have.
are
I mean,
thinking.
we're interested in the machine. Tell us if you get that, figured out. Okay, so for better or for worse, in my mind, I have making dinner for my family on the shelf of pretty much non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it should be. And so I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Okay. And for whatever reason, I have not washing the clothes. I wash the clothes. Then I dump them on the bed, and then they could sit there from anywhere from 2 to 7 days, and we could just,
and they get picked away.
pull clothes out. At night, you'll just shove it.
And we got
and then
baskets, and I shove it in the basket.
Sometimes I'll just end up re-washing because they fell on the floor.
And then sometimes we let cash fold, which means you're refolding.
Yeah, and I'm not. Yeah, so I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that folding laundry that's on my bed always is on this shelf over here. Of like, I mean, it's important, but I mean, like, I'll get to it when I get to it, and I don't really care that much. Okay, now everybody has both of those shelves. Everybody does. You have different things on the shelves, but if at least those big four that we just talked about, prioritizing time with your spouse and your kids, exercise, sleep, the things that we talked about, for a lot of you, those are on this shelf over here, where it's like, I'm not going to say it's not important, but like,
if I get to it, I get to it.
Yeah, and it might happen this week or it might not. That's where it is. And so you need to look at that triage list, make sure it's correct. Again, none of this will really work if your list is out of order. Make sure it's correct. Get a second opinion. Make sure you're not leaving anything out. Those things, that top 5 to 7-ish, whatever, needs to be on this shelf over here, the non-negotiable shelf. So thinking in terms of category, and again, it's not about one thing being right or wrong. It's not. But it's just which things are your biggest priority and are considered truly non-negotiable. That's really important. Okay. And again, if you care enough to get it on the right shelf, you'll do it.
Yeah.
You'll do it. I mean, at least most of the time. Okay. Here's another one. This is important. And if husbands, if you're listening, I know the show's been mostly directed at moms, but this is very important. You'll play an important role in this. Be willing to invest money. Okay. Time, money.
And your wife.
Give us money. Okay. Be willing to invest and or hire out as is needed. Okay. Because a lot of you really busy moms, especially you moms with a lot of kids, a bunch of kids, and when they're younger, you need some outside help.
Yeah.
You need some outside help. And I just can't believe how, and I think that might, that is sitting down with your husband and going through that list and trying to lay it down onto an actually doable schedule in a week, that will shed some light on this. But I mean, it's a lot, okay? Getting the laundry done, keeping the house clean, making the meals, going to the grocery store, taking your kids, all these different places you need to go, figuring out how am I going to exercise? When am I going to exercise? Where am I going to exercise? Like, it's a lot. And I think that we need to be willing to throw some money at this, okay? And I mean, like, that might be a gym membership, because guys, when you're in this, if you're an empty nester, or you're like me and your kids are grown and they're not even there half the time, you can work out at home if you're set up for it and you're motivated enough. It's not that hard. When you got like 5 little kids just like right there with you all the time, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard. So that should be on the table at all times. That possibly mom needs to go somewhere else to get her daily exercise in. This might be investing in babysitting, a house cleaner, and a house cleaner can mean a lot of things. That can just be like, come on, please, someone come and do my floors for me. Someone just come and do my bathrooms. That's huge. A lot of times I just tell girls, pick the task that is just the thorn in your side. For me, that's the laundry on the bed. It's just like, I can't do it.
Outsource that.
And it's outsource that one. It's fine to pay them well and do that.
Well, let me add here, like this is a great opportunity to disciple your kids and bring them into the housework.
Well, that's true. That's true too.
I'm in a situation, I think a lot of last summer, Cash did most of the mowing now. Usually I did most of the mowing, So there's things that I have mostly done as a father and dad and owner of our house, right? That now I'm like trying to outsource to Cash because Saturdays are becoming a different kind of work activity for me.
Yeah.
And so and part of the reason why I think parents don't like do this with their kids is because like, oh, it's going to take me longer to train my kid or pass this off.
Yeah.
But this is like, part of discipling our kids, teach them how to work hard, teach them how to be responsible. The nice thing, we still have to work on some of our kids on this, but they feed the chickens and the horses and the, sheep every morning. And that's a great thing for them to do, to learn how to take care of animals and so forth. And then activities like, for me, like mowing has become something I've had to have kind of outsourced to Cash a little more and more. But there's a number of things that and that you could do. I 100% am for also paying an outsider college student or something to do things that you need to get done.
Yeah, it just depends on the situation.
Sometimes having a house cleaner is a nice have a gal come in the week and clean the house, do kind of big broad cleaning is real helpful. But I would say the thing is you just need to make sure that you aren't doing this because this is something you don't like to do, or this is something that you would rather pay for versus something like, hey, this is my responsibility. I need to make sure it gets done. But then as you grow and as you mature and as your family matures over time, that's a great opportunity to outsource. So I just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. My only point. Is my only point there.
No, it's a really good point. And I mean, you have to
because some gals will start outsourcing things. It's like,
yeah.
No, don't, learn that well, do that well, because you want to teach your kids someday or whatever.
Yeah, no, totally.
And you're being lazy. Don't outsource if you're being lazy. Outsource if you're working hard and you need help.
It's true. You're right. I think my brain mostly goes to the like the moms who are the opposite of lazy and are just like
too much. They're doing too much.
Yeah, right. And I mean, if you're gonna, husbands, if you're gonna be on board with having a bunch of kids and stacking them in tight, then you need to give your wife the tools that she needs to be able to take care of the household without running herself into the ground. You know what I mean? But you're right. I'm always doing. We've only got 3 kids, and I'm still always trying to balance. Like, okay, what things should I have my kids do so that they have a work ethic? They're participating in the household, and also they're learning things.
Yeah.
Like, you could totally just like do it all yourself or hire out or whatever, and like never teach your kids how to do anything. And I mean, that could happen. So I'm always trying to figure that out. I feel like it was easier to do that when they were a little younger because they weren't as busy. Yeah. Now during the school year, it's just, if you have your kids in sports and in school, there just isn't a ton of time. I mean, that's kind of more of my problem now, but I agree with you. You want to find a balance, and it probably just depends on the situation you're in. But all that to say, be willing, at least have an open mind to investing, and or hiring out as you need to, so that the most important things can get done and your wife can not feel like a crazy person and take care of her health and by extension, take care of her family. Okay. And I really think
I'll add one more thing here.
Sure.
Yeah. I'll just say, as I've gotten older and the more work I have, I mean, if I had money, I would have like 4 assistants right now.
Oh, seriously.
It's,
I know.
So it like the more work you have, you want to think, okay, what's the most important I should be doing? And then either I drop this ball, I put this ball down because these balls are more important, or I start maybe hiring help. I mean, that shows in some sense, that shows you're being productive, being faithful to God. And then now you need more help to be able to make sure you're focusing on what you need to be focusing on. So, good. I think it shows, if you need help in some sense, it shows that you're being really productive and God's blessing it.
In a lot of situations, I would say, okay. And I know we got to be out of here on time, so I'm just going to do...
I got my Americano.
2 more. I know. Are you feeling better already?
Yeah, already.
Okay, good. Okay, one. I'll do 2 more. Okay, reminder, and I feel like this is a dead horse, and I'm just going to beat it more, but I love to beat this dead horse.
I wonder if I have like a beating thing
like
here.
Yeah. You should find one for when I talk about this. So just a friendly neighborhood reminder, ladies, it is not your job to pay the bills. I like to bring this up on average at least once a month.
Now you're going to start some fighting.
It's just not your job. Okay.
Fighting
so
words.
now I'm not saying that in that top 5 to 7, when you did your little triage list, we talked about that at the start. I'm not saying that some amount of work hours outside of your house is wrong or they can't be there.
You're specifically saying it's not your job to make the money to pay the bills.
The same thing. How is that?
Well, because sometimes the wife will function as the manager of the money and pay bills that way.
That's what I mean. Make the money to pay the bills. It's not your job.
Yes.
So I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong that you working outside the home has made that top tier cut. But if that book of working outside the house is on that shelf of non-negotiable at the expense of anything else that should be there, you need to have a serious conversation with your spouse. And even better, husband, it probably should be your idea. You should probably be leading in this because this is hard. About cutting back, doing less. Okay. Like it should not, if you are too tired to actually spend time with your children or your husband because of all the work outside the home you're doing, if you are unable to exercise and take care of your body and take care of your health, if you're unable to just maintain your health in general, if you're unable to actually make decently healthy meals for your family because you're doing that instead, something needs to change. That is poor time management. And dudes, please note that, like, I don't mean to like bag on you guys, but like you are responsible. You're responsible in general for the state of your family. You're responsible in general for any amount of pressure that your wife may or may not feel to be working. Now, granted, I understand women can be difficult. I never felt financial pressure. And there were still times where Gabe was like, please, you should work less. And I was like, no. And that was completely on me. I wasn't feeling any financial pressure. I just was like, don't tell me what to do. I love my job. I mean, and that can be happening too. And women, if that's you, if you're doing what I used to do, step outside of yourself and look at what your actual role and your most important priorities are supposed to be and be honest about, am I actually getting those things done? And would we be thriving as a family better if I did less of that? And if the answer is yes, then you need to be willing to quit. You need to be willing to quit. It's just, that's just,
and
I just see it so often. I see it so often.
And one of the points that you're making here, we've talked about a lot, is that oftentimes husbands can put pressure on their wives to go make money because he wants help with paying the electric bill or something like that.
And sometimes it's like an immense amount of pressure. Sometimes I'm like, are you serious? And they're just, the wife's just like a stressed out, exhausted mess, you know. But other times it's more subtle. It's like she just feels like, well, but it's just like women are good at putting pressure on themselves. It just doesn't belong there.
Yeah, right.
It's not
that
your
their
job.
husband isn't even putting on them.
It's just not your job. Stop freaking out about something that is not your job. And if you guys need more money, that's his problem. He needs to figure that out.
If he can't pay the electric bill, he needs to figure it out. It's not your responsibility.
You get to make dinner. He gets to make money.
Now I would add there because you also got this trad wife thing where
trad wife.
Where if a woman is making money by maybe doing something outside the house, actually takes you outside the house. I'm not saying it's still part of your work, still part of your housework. But that can be kind of like taboo in some of those kind of head covering trad wife circles.
Oh my gosh, you guys, that's so stupid.
But the Proverbs woman, like, Annie works at the gym. We don't use, she manages, she has clients, she helps them with their workouts, lose weight, whatever. And that money we don't use for the electric bill. I don't put, it's money that the wife uses for the things that the wife needs to accomplish. And that's, I think, roughly an important principle to be kind of thinking through. So, but you go through Proverbs 31 and the wife is making money.
Yeah.
The wife is buying fields. Like she's doing big purchases with the money she makes. So, don't,
I didn't even think to hedge against that, but you're right.
Oh, it's a big deal.
It's a big thing right now, which I just feel like it's so stupid. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say to you guys.
In Proverbs 31:16, she considers a field and buys it. For her profit, she plants a frickin' vineyard. It's like she's, I said it. She perceives that her merchandise is good. Her lamp does not go out at night, so she doesn't sleep 8 hours a night. That's what it looks like here.
Gosh, she probably was. She was probably sleeping pretty good. She made up for it the next day.
She's making this. She's making that. She makes.
No, you're totally right.
And she's like, and it says in verse 20 of Proverbs, she extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches her hands out to the needy. She's not afraid of snow because she's buying clothes. She's making clothes.
She does like some bicep curls or something.
Her arms are strong.
She does some of this.
The point is that because a woman might, let's say, make money outside of the house. By outside of the house, I mean she goes somewhere like to a gym and makes some money and brings it back. There's nothing wrong with that.
Of course not.
Of course not. In fact, an industrious woman should have a source of revenue. I would think and of course that depends on when your kids are young or when your kids, depends on so many circumstances.
I think it depends. I'm just saying. I'm just saying the opposite. That please don't feel pressure to work outside of the house and make money at the expense of doing what should be the number one priority. That's it.
Where your gifts at? Where's your time at? How many kids you got? All that stuff.
And I've said this on many shows. If you're able to kill it at home and then also work outside the house, more power to you. If it's going well, great. I mean, like I have no issue with that. Obviously, I've done it myself.
And I don't like that term "work outside of the house" because
I don't know what better word do you want.
But what I'm saying is sometimes to ears out there, it might look like you're saying, okay, she has two lives or she has a disconnect between home life and when a woman is making money, she's doing it because it's abounding out of the fruit of what she's done with her kids, her family, her husband, and her house. It's part of that whole mission.
I know, but
that's why
this is why I use it because
I don't mind using it. I'm just wanting to clarify what we mean by it. That's fine.
It. But if you say, "Oh, do you work?" and what you're meaning is you have a job at a bank or you have a job that's not your job as being a wife and a mom.
Yeah.
It sounds like being at home and being a wife and a mom isn't work, and it is.
Yeah.
So that's why I have over time said work outside of the house because it's already a full-time job.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you're being a wife and a mom, and anything outside is okay, but it's extra. It's like working overtime, right? Yeah. That's all. So, anyways, wow, that's great. Okay, one last thought because I know we got to go.
It's 3:17.
Okay, it's 3:17. We started late. Okay, this is the last one, ladies. And this is going to apply, especially if you fall in group number 3, the women who are really struggling to get enough done, low energy, easily distracted. Maybe people have told you you're lazy or you feel like you're lazy, but you're just like, what's wrong with me? Like if you are dealing with, and this is a lot of women, if you're dealing with super low energy, like super low, like what is wrong with me? Brain fog, anxiety, just inability to think clearly, poor sleep, that is not normal. And you need to go find somebody who can help you, okay? Because what that means is that your health is drastically out of balance. And that is not normal, no matter what your doctor tells you, because they will tell you, they'll be like, this is just pretty normal. You're just a tired mom, or this is just, part of getting older. That's what they like to say. If you are just like, I know all these things. I know I want to be able to do all these things, but I am so stinking tired. Like I can't think straight. I can't form a sentence. I feel like trash. You need to get help because that's not normal. I mean, it's common, but it's not normal. And there can be a billion reasons under the sun why you are experiencing that. And I will say, and husbands, please be aware that if you continue to have babies stacked on top of each other very, very tightly,
every 9 months,
the odds of your wife's health going downhill slowly over time are going to go way up because there's just no recovery there. There's no recovery. And so that's could be part of the problem. But you see a lot of just way overtaxed adrenals, just adrenals that are just major adrenal dysfunction. You see low thyroid that can cause a lot of these things. Macro and micro mineral and nutrient deficiencies. So super low D, super low B12, super low
iron.
A lot of things.
Just made that up.
Low progesterone.
It's true.
You're actually right about that. Yeah. Low progesterone is a big one. And there can be other causes. But guys, if you feel really bad, and you are like, I want to do all these things and I just can't. Like my body just can't do what seems like should be normal. Go find some help. Go find some help because it's normal. It's common, but it's not normal. So hey, we got through almost everything I wrote about.
Yeah. My wife is very serious when she puts show notes together. She wants to get through it all. And if she doesn't, it kind of bothers you a little bit. You kind of leave like, you ask me, it's like, is that a good show? We didn't get through everything. Like the content was good. You always, in fact, one of the rules of a good show, you leave you hanging on just a little bit.
And I just feel like information, I just wish it was like on a drip and I could just crank it into me or into you guys as much as possible. But
my wife wants an IV of information.
I just love information.
I like to have a little fun while I deliver the information.
Yeah.
And so that means
it's true.
I don't get to it all.
I'm trying to grow. But
it's so good to see you, baby.
It's good to see you too.
Yes. It's been a week.
It's been a week.
All right, you guys. Email us, wrenchmedia@gmail.com. My website's gabewrench.com. It's got a bunch of stuff there, all the other shows we got going on. Download our app, our Fight Laugh Feast app. That's a great place to listen to our show, audio or video. And then, of course, follow my wife over at Instagram, me at Twitter. And next week, we'll be in the studio next week, and we look forward to seeing you next week. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, my name's Justin Johnson.
And I'm Josiah Stowe.
And we are Dominion Wealth Strategists. We are created to put money in the hands of those that are sitting in the pews.
From budgeting to estate planning, savings accounts, retirement planning, life insurance, and a heck of a lot more here at Dominion.
That means that you are leaving an inheritance that passes multiple generations because that is the legacy. It's part of our mission.
All of Christ for all of life.
And all of finance for Christendom.
Anything you could, what's the earliest you think